Welcome to Enlightened Evolution.
I'm Cay.
And I'm Christina.
We're here to discuss the ebb and flow of our soul's healing and transformation through self-reflection, choosing intentionally, honoring thyself, and following your inner guide.
Thank you for joining this safe space with us.
Good morning, everybody. We hope we find you well today. Today we are discussing taking accountability and not emotionally bypassing others. How are you doing today?
I am well. This Monday is Mondaying for sure. I do want to apologize to our listeners for our last episode and my microphone being off. We hope that this recording is better. We are struggling with technology just a little bit, and my computer is trying to sabotage me. How are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful today. I woke up feeling so much better than yesterday. Just journaled, and then after my daughter was off to school, I went for a walk in the nature center for about a mile or so. So that just I feel refreshed today. I'm feeling much more
Awesome.
energized. Yes. So jumping right in, taking accountability in our relationships with others starts by acknowledging our behavior, not only how our behavior I think first we need to start by acknowledging how our behavior affects us and then the people that we're closest to. Often we abandon ourselves, which causes ourselves to suffer. And if we're suffering, our relationships are going to suffer. I think we need to start by taking accountability. How do we need to be eating better? Do we need to be exercising? Do we need to be meditating more, experiencing more a deeper dive into our spiritual practice? And then once you start to get yourself under control a little bit, I think at the same time, maybe afterwards, depending on if you're already in a relationship or starting this journey alone, when's the last time that you can honestly admit that you've disregarded someone or hurt someone that you care about because you didn't communicate in a gentle, loving way? When we have a poor relationship with ourselves, it bleeds into our relationship with others. When we have unsuccessful relationships, we need to go inward and take accountability for the mistakes we make, whether it's just working through our own unresolved trauma that impacts our current relationships. So then we can attempt to mend by apologizing and acknowledging we've hurt somebody. I think that it can start by sitting with our inner child. Did our parents ever acknowledge and take accountability for the ways they hurt us? And then going into our romantic relationships, were we able to what did we learn from our parents, which we've already discussed, that has gone into our romantic relationships? If no one's ever apologized to us or taken accountability for the ways they hurt us, it's going to be a lot harder to do that for others. So it starts by being intentional and conscious about how we affect others based on how we've been affected by others. So, what do you think about that? Do you think that?
I think it's difficult to own your own truth when you haven't done it most of your life, especially if you've never seen it modeled. So if you didn't have role models in your life to that took accountability, I definitely did not have that. Everything was always somebody else's fault.
Mhm.
I'm irate because you did this, this, and this. And no one took accountability for their own actions. So I never saw that model, definitely. And it really comes down to a point where you just got to get sick of your own shit
Yep.
to really realize like, "Oh, I I contributed to this. I made this happen. I took part in this, and I need to take accountability for that." I think someone for me who has craved control my whole life, not like controlling others, but mostly controlling situations to keep them safe is where my control desire for control comes in. But I didn't realize the level of control that comes when you have accountability because once you own your truth, no one else can come at you sideways, right? Like someone's going to tell me, "Oh, you're this, this and that." Yeah, I did that. I did that and I'm sorry. And if I hurt you, let's have that conversation. But I owning my truth, no one else gets to control the narrative, which is nice.
Yeah. I think After experiencing our childhood, yours mine was similar to that too, blaming, you know, sometimes parents blaming you like, "You did this, I'm upset with you because you're this way." Once we acknowledge and accept that we deserve healthy connections, and we need to invite ourselves to explore what we need to change within ourselves to cultivate an environment where relationships that we have can start to flourish. W We also need to learn how to be vulnerable enough to apologize quickly and sincerely, and then moving forward, if we really wanna be forgiven for the mistakes that we've made, we must change our behavior. And it starts with being honest. Are you really sorry for how you've behaved, though? Because a lot of I've been in relationships where someone felt unjust by something I did, and they demanded that I apologize, and although I was apologizing, I wasn't really sorry for what I d for something that I had did. And this something, just an example of something, was like posting something on social media that was a creative outlet for myself, and they felt insecure about that, and so I had to apologize for that. And I did, so I do think there's this fine line for taking accountability, but make sure that you're sincerely sorry about it.
Right, and if you're not, then have that conversation of,
Mhm.
I hear you're wanting an apology from me, but I don't feel that I did anything wrong." And there does come that line where we can control our intention, but we can't control how people perceive it and receive it. So, your intention was to post something creatively. That other person took it personally in a way that they probably shouldn't have. So that conversation was probably more about, asking them, why do you feel this way? Why are
Mhm.
you taking offense to something that has nothing to do with you? Or, but definitely, like you said, not having to apologize if it's something you're truly not sorry for, or maybe that conversation helps you to understand something. Maybe you triggered them. That's something that they need to reflect on. But I guess it can deepen the conversation. I like how you mentioned about being vulnerable because we also may have grown up in situations where it was not safe to take accountability. I know I
Mm.
experienced, there was this like heavy weight on my shoulders of always needing to be perfect. So if I ever admitted that I wasn't perfect or I wasn't okay, well, then that just completely devalued me, and it was not a safe space to say, "You know what? I did something wrong," and know that that person was gonna receive it and not berate me and not be like, "See, I told you you're this, this, and this." So, truly, I think it's helpful to find someone that can be a safe space for you and you can practice being vulnerable and owning your truth with. And sometimes I think we do that in our friendships.
Yeah,
We're typically understanding of each other and we can admit things to our friends that maybe we haven't admitted to others, but it might give us that practice to take it to the person who we may have harmed.
for sure. And just getting a second outside perspective on things and non-bias. I guess it's hard for our friends to be non-biased, but it is nice to try to get a non-biased opinion about something we've experienced that we feel shame about or feel guilty about. I I've been in relationships where when someone has told me, like that social media situation, just as an example, I was taken back by my partner when they told me that I hurt their feelings. And in those moments, of course, you want to give that person the space that they deserve and moments to process that their feelings are hurt. And it's very difficult. I'll admit it's so difficult to stay calm and loving and patient with them when you feel kind of attacked yourself when they're hurt by something you did and you had no intention to hurt them.
Definitely. And I think that steps into not emotionally bypassing. So when someone comes to us and lets us know that we did them wrong or harmed them, it's not for us to jump in and say, "Okay, well I did this because blah blah blah,"
Mhm.
or try to make light of the situation, emotionally bypassing it, trying to be like, "Oh, it's not that serious." We need to let them express their feelings to us and sit with it. Don't be quick to respond. Sit with that and try to really, move past our own ego that's going to jump up first and be like, "Oh no, you did the right thing," or whatever it might be. Move past that and try to really have some empathy and look at it from the other person's eyes. It could be that they are acting ridiculous. That's a possibility, but I think we should always give an honest inquiry to, you know, could I have done something differently? Or how does this relationship need to change in order to meet their needs as well as my needs?
And be honest with yourself about how much you're willing to change for this person with making them feel safe and also not abandoning yourself. I think it's also really important, which I haven't been able to have much practice with this yet. So you can tell me if you do this with your current relationship. Reiterating what somebody said to you. So, like a playback, maybe in different words that you understood it, so they know that you understand. Because sometimes you could say, well, this is what I'm hearing that you're saying. Am I understanding you correctly? And they could be like, no, absolutely not. That's not what I'm saying. So,
Yeah, I think that's very important to
mhm.
do. In nursing, we kinda do that in, like, teach back when we're teaching patients,
Oh,
and we
yeah.
ask them to kinda teach it back
Mhm.
to us and making sure that they got all the concepts. So, definitely in your day-to-day relationships, having that repeat back to make sure that we're on the same page, because so many times we filter it through our own filter and whatever we're focused on, and we may be completely not hearing what the other person's saying.
Yeah. I know something for me personally I'll need to work on my anger and not feeling so violated when because it hurts when somebody tells me, "Hey, you did this wrong. It hurt my feelings." And it kind of just makes me angry like, "It was never my intention to hurt your feelings. Why are you pointing the finger at me like I'm a bad person for doing something that is you're taking it totally out of context, completely the wrong way. You feel like I personally victimized you because I did this and that has never been my intention. So it's very hard when people come to you if it's truly not your intention and you are on a low scale of narcissistic traits and you truly do empathize with people. It's really hard to hear when you've done something wrong.
100%. I've experienced this. I can think of an example in like a coworker situation. They didn't come to me specifically. I did something. They went to another coworker, told them they were upset about it. Then that coworker told me. So then I went to the person and I said,
Mhm.
"Hey, I heard you were upset about what I did. I'm really sorry. That was not my intention." At first, though, you feel that trigger of like, that's not what I intended. Like, why are
Right.
they taking it this way? But again, we have to understand that people receive things through the lens that, what their thought processes are. They're not in the same mindset that we are when we made that decision. So I listened to that person and let them tell me why they felt that it was a negative thing towards them, and I tried to explain my side of what my original intentions were, as well as acknowledging that I hurt their feelings. The conversation wasn't the smoothest. Sometimes people can be committed to misunderstanding you. So,
Absolutely.
especially if this is new for you to take accountability and people have known you in the past to not, or to not have these deeper conversations, and so you basically get labeled in their mind and you're always this person, this is who you are, and so they stay committed to that misunderstanding no matter what you say. So sometimes you can resolve that in a conversation, and then there are times when, I think I said, again, I'm really sorry for hurting your feelings, that was not my intention, let me know what I can do differently in the future.
And you said they received you well or it didn't are you guys cool now or
We're cool now. Yeah.
good?
Yeah.
There's this I found an accountability wheel on Pinterest
Ooh,
And I wonder if there's some way we can, I don't know, maybe even pin the link to this episode
show
somehow,
notes? Yeah.
but it starts with an accountability loop, and then in the middle, there's situation, intention, there's an accountability loop, and then there's a victim loop. So, just as an example, the accountability loop, the intention is you recognize what you've done, you own it, you forgive, self examine, you learn, and then you take action. And the victim loop, because there's always a choice to recognize it or ignore it. So if you're taking accountability, you're recognizing it. If you're in the victim loop, you're ignoring it. You deny it, you blame others, you rationalize your behavior, you resist it, and then you hide. And
Mm.
looking at it, I hope that there's a way. I'm going to send it to you so we can pin it to our
Okay, I'm sure we can
this
link it in the show
episode,
notes.
but I thought that was super helpful. I came up with some things that I've personally experienced and that I've done to others of what taking accountability does not look like, things that you say or do. Someone says to you, "That's ridiculous, you're crazy." I'm I meant well, that wasn't my intention, which I think that after the person gets their feelings out, it is good for them to know that was not your intention if you did hurt their feelings. But coming out right away, just start blurting things without fully
Right,
listening to them.
acknowledge their feelings
Yeah,
first.
absolutely. Why are you being so sensitive when
Mm.
you completely avoid apologizing altogether and you don't even give that person an apology? Scoffing or eye rolling, telling them that their feelings are basically annoying you.
Goodness.
This is I've actually someone has treated me like this before quite a bit. Someone used to give me advice on how I should be feeling instead.
Oh.
Fuck you,
Oh,
sir.
no.
Right.
You can't tell me how I'm supposed to feel. You don't get
Right.
to control that.
Right. I know. We don't get to choose the effect we have on other people, right?
Mm-mm.
Diverting your hurt feelings to focus on something that they're upset about. So I don't even know why you're upset about that. That's not even that big a deal compared to what you did here, here, and here. And then always bringing up the
Yeah,
past mistakes
that's not
you've
accountability.
right. And then always bringing up the past mistakes you've made when you want to express something that hurts you in the present moment.
Yeah,
So,
accountability should always be about what is the issue at hand, never bringing the past into it, never comparing it to something someone else has done. What we're talking about right now is what you did and how it made me feel, and that's the only topic.
yeah. Some things accountability does sound like is so when I did this, you felt like that. Like I said earlier, making sure that you understand how they feel and saying, or you could say something like, I want to make sure I get this right. So in the future, you would like it if I did A, B, and C instead, or did not do this instead, whether you're sometimes crossing people's personal boundaries or whatever the case may be. You could just plainly say, I'm sorry I hurt you. I care so much about you, and I'll find ways in the future to avoid doing that, whatever that may be. Can you please help me understand your perspective? It's important to me how you feel. What am I doing that is getting in the way of your feelings for you or what am I doing that's getting in the way for you to feel safe to express yourself? A lot of times I found myself in relationships where I just kind of get upset about something and then I go into like hermit mode because sometimes we're not in the right relationships where we do have a safe place to express ourselves. I know before you used to tolerate me doing this, I will work on no longer doing that because now I understand that it upsets you or hurts your feelings. A lot of times I think we wait a while before we express ourselves that we're hurt, or others wait a while. And then
Yeah.
I don't know that what I'm doing is bothering you if you don't tell me. So if I've done it 10 times and all of a sudden it's a shock
Now it's
to
an
me.
issue.
Yeah, now it's an issue. That would be hard to hear, but if depending on what the status of that situation is, you can try to change if you're okay with it. Just simply saying, "I'm sorry what I did hurt your feelings. I won't do that anymore. Thank you for telling me how you feel. It was never my intention to hurt you." And then just give them big hugs. If that's your relationship with
Yes.
that person, maybe you probably didn't hug your coworker, but if you're in a romantic if you're in a romantic relationship, I always feel much better after I have, like, a warm embrace.
Yes. There was something I've learned throughout this relationship, even just body language when you're having these really difficult conversations,
Mhm.
like sitting down together side by side or face to face, and even maybe holding each other's hand while you talk through it, to remember that connection of this is obviously in like a romantic
For
relationship, or
sure.
it could even be with a child or something, getting on their level so that you're not towering over them
Mhm.
and just being on that same level. And remembering that we care about each other, and that's the heart of this, and we're gonna talk through this and get through it. I will say that even though my partner gives me a safe space to express myself and express my needs, I still find myself defaulting. So that default mode network of I can't express what I need. He continuously reassures me every time I express something, and then he confirms it and does better, does differently. But there is still some times, and he's experienced it too, where he has not felt comfortable expressing something, and I think it's the good examples you gave are all, examples of giving this safe space. I always like to thank him for his vulnerability whenever he
Mhm.
expresses something to me that's difficult, because I know it's not easy.
Yeah, I mean, even, you guys have been together for a minute and you still like, it's still a work in progress. It's still a daily practice to be able to communicate intentionally, take accountability, and show up for each other and have that safe space for each other. What do you think about what do you think for people that are getting into brand new relationships? Because it takes a while to learn somebody and to learn what they want, learn what their needs are gonna be, learn what they need to feel safe. It might be completely different than the things that you need to feel safe. How often do you think somebody should be what would you feel comfortable with in a new relationship? If somebody was bringing something to you, "Hey," like once a week, "Hey, this is bothering me. Can you apologize?" The next week, something new. Do you think that's a
I think if it's
healthy
a weekly doesn't sound so healthy to me. It sounds like you aren't aligned at that point, right?
Mhm.
Like if the one person is constantly coming to you, I don't like this that you do, I don't like this that you do. I would definitely say, especially in the early stages of a relationship, it doesn't sound like y'all are aligned. It doesn't sound like they like who you actually are. So
Yeah. So they feel maybe
again,
like they need to mold you to fit their needs.
right. I would say Jordan and I, and we still do this at least monthly. We just check in with each other. Hey, is there anything you need from me? Is there anything I could be doing better? And we have that conversation just as like a pulse point to see how things are going.
Nice.
And often it's nothing. Often there are no needs, but we just do that. But yeah, definitely if it's weekly, I don't know. I would feel like that person does not actually like who I am. I could
Yeah,
consider like, hey, are those things I want to change about myself? It's possible that I should, but it's also possible that this is already the starts of an abusive relationship because this person's trying to control who you are.
for sure. Relationships are hard, but I don't think they have to
All
be
types.
all types of relationships can be difficult, but I just think showing up with good intentions, being mindful how you
And I
speak to others.
And I promise you, once you start taking accountability, it's scary at first to
Mhm.
admit that you may have done something wrong, but it does feel so freeing once you do start to do that.
It certainly does. I think at work, it's not as hard for me being a nurse. I mean, being a healthcare provider in general, there's an endless amount of things that you have to learn, and when you make mistakes, you better own them pretty quick because someone's life could be in danger. So, I don't think at
Yeah.
work it's always been very hard for me to say, "Oh, yeah, I was wrong," about that, but I think in personal relationships, it's a little bit more difficult because it's more emotional and personalized and
Oh, yeah.
well,
Well, I think we've given our audience some great tools on how to have constructive conversations around accountability.
I think so too. We hope that everybody has a beautiful week. Thank you for joining us this Monday morning and starting your day with us.
Namaste.
Namaste.